Oh, we recorded that. Hi.
Oh, hi.
I forgot that was already going.
What did we say at the beginning? This is just for the channel part, so.
Hello, channel. You start us, or I start us? Should we look down and then both look up like a 90s, like...
Hi, Adam here.
And Faye, welcome.
Good morning, San Diego.
Good morning.
Is that what they say on... Is that what Ron Burgundy says on The Anchorman? Have you never seen that movie? Mm-mm. So good. Hi, guys. Welcome. It is the weekend of November 17th today. It's been a crazy week, and yes, we're in a different location. It's a hidden location. I can't tell you where it is, but the sound is bad in here. So enjoy the humming.
Yay! But we're so glad to be here.
Yeah, Faye's here. We're going to give you a spooky story.
Pajamas?
Yeah, ghost pajamas.
Slumber times.
What should we say? Oh, if you're new to this channel, hello, my name's Adam. I'm the Paranormal Polynesian, and I love to travel to weird and spooky places. I also like to tell spooky stories with Faye on our podcast. The podcast is To Believe or Not to Believe. That is the podcast. The longest named podcast in the West.
And the best one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, how was your week? What's new?
Long. My car got broken into.
Ooh.
Someone stole my purse and
It's been a bad week.
It's not been a great week, guys. But we're here and we're glad to be, and we have hopefully a very fun episode for you.
I hope so. I'm very sad today. My best friend passed away yesterday, you guys. And those of you who watch the channel, you know about Janice. So I have to just bring that up. So we just need to tell some little stories and have a fun little spooky time. And
we're going to talk about one of Adam's favorite places.
Mainly because we were out of topics and we're like, what can we talk about? No?
I have so many topics. And I get them all. Let's just sidebar. Okay.
We're not out
just
of topics.
For a second.
I'm out of
Just
topics.
for a second. Long list of topics. I come prepared with one.
Mm-hmm. What?
And I'm so happy to be here. Let's move on.
Yeah, but... Okay. Also, we want to apologize for last week when we talked about President Lincoln. Because a few things were incorrect in that podcast.
I apologize for nothing.
First of all, it's called Ford's Theater, not the Ford Theater. The Ford Theater is a theater that's made by Ford Trucks, and it's somewhere like in Ohio or something. Ford's Theater is also not torn down. It's still standing very proudly in Washington.
Which they said it might be.
Yeah. And then I also think I went off about Lady Bird Johnson, and I was actually talking about Betty Ford the whole time. So if you listen to that back, and I'm all excited about Lady Bird Johnson, I don't know who she is. I meant Betty Ford. She was the one that liked a good drink, and then had a clinic named after her.
An Alcoholics Anonymous clinic?
The Betty Ford Clinic?
I don't know.
You've never heard of it? It's the most famous rehab center in America.
I didn't know.
Well, now you do. So let's get that out of the way. Also, again, sorry for the sound in here. This is as good as it's going to get. But we wanted to make sure we got you something this week because, we're both out of town for the next 3 weeks. I am. So let's hope we can get you something after this. But at least we have this little gem for you. So.
Yeah. When I say 333 Wonderview Avenue, Estes Park, Colorado, what do you think?
Well, that's the address to the Stanley, but we need to do our intro for the podcast part.
Oh, that was my intro.
Because this is our behind the scenes for people who watch.
I don't know how to do this, guys.
I don't either. I need a drink.
Whatever, you've been doing this for
Coke. Not sponsored, but could be.
Call us.
Okay, anyway, we hope you guys have a great week coming up. Happy Thanksgiving this week.
Happy Thanksgiving for those here.
Shit. What's happening? Oh. You guys... Should we leave this into the video so that people are like, what is going on? Probably, because I'm too lazy to edit this out. Did you see what I saw?
No, I didn't. Did you need to step
I don't
out?
know. I think we're good.
Step away?
Yeah, and we're totally not recording this at my work or anything, so.
We would never do that.
Okay. And
Scene.
so let's start this podcast. You guys, happy Thanksgiving. Have a lovely Thanksgiving. Wait, are you doing anything fun for Thanksgiving?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share or no?
I'll be in Mexico.
Mexico?
Hello. Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in Arizona.
I'm really excited.
It's kind of like Mexico.
It's warm.
It's very warm.
But no ocean.
No
I will
ocean.
be on the ocean, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, well...
I'm so grateful that, like, my purse got stolen this week. Not grateful for that, but I just hit my mic. Uh-oh. I am really grateful that I have my passport.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would be...
Well, you need it anyway.
Crap out of luck.
Probably.
Yeah. But, I mean, just...
Although, aren't new licenses enhanced now and they let you go to Mexico?
I know you can
I think
have,
mine is.
They do specific passport cards that are only good for Canada and Mexico, and they're, like, way cheaper, and they last for a lot longer.
Gotcha.
But, I don't know.
Well, okay, anyway, have a lovely holiday week. We probably will be gone, and we'll probably be back in 2 weeks for the podcast. So let's start this podcast, and action. Okay, but first, I'm hearing someone...
To lie to you. So you know how hotels are like haunted sometimes? How cool would it be if we're like doing this podcast and we like something haunty happens? Hello and welcome, my friends. My name is Faye, and this is where I sit down with my friend Adam to talk about, well, spooky stuff. So let me ask you, do you believe in ghosts, hauntings, paranormal shenanigans? I don't, but I love hearing about all of it, and honestly, I would love to be wrong. My friend Adam, he does, and he has a lifetime of experiences to back it up. So buckle up, because today we're talking about the haunted Stanley Hotel. Adam, when I say 333 Wonderview Avenue, Estes Park, Colorado, what does that make you think?
Makes me think of McDonald's.
You liar! You know it makes you think.
Well, it's the address to the Stanley, but did you know there's a McDonald's like right in front of the Stanley? Like it's just right there. So like I used to go get my filet of fish and then go up to the hotel.
Really?
Just a little McDonald's.
When you say right there, how close are we talking?
What else is
around it? Okay, so I've never been there. Mm-hmm. The only thing I think is the windy road up, like in the movie.
Yeah.
But there's a McDonald's?
So at the bottom of the windy road, there's a McDonald's. And then you just go up and it's walking distance. It just looks longer.
Oh,
it's very close. Estes Park, Colorado is the most beautiful, charming little town.
That's so fun.
It's got shopping, it's got restaurants, good food, beautiful views. And every year the elk make a pilgrimage to the main square. They have a little lake, and thousands of elk will come out. It's always around November, October, I believe.
Cute.
Right around now, I think.
Wow.
And so it is a magical place, but the crown jewel of this place, Estes Park, is the Stanley Hotel.
The Stanley Hotel. Mm-hmm. Colorado has this idyllic feel to me.
I love it.
I think I would like to live there.
I wouldn't.
Really? Or not?
Because it's just like Utah, and I live in Utah. It just seems like a lot of work for the same scenery.
Oh, I feel like it's prettier.
It is prettier. Like the mountains are prettier.
Yeah, they're beautiful and big.
Those Rockies.
The Rockies.
So, yes, the Stanley Hotel, famed hotel, the subject of Stephen King's book, The Shining, but we've talked about that many times on my channel and I think the podcast, haven't we?
I don't think so.
Maybe not on the podcast.
We've probably mentioned that he wrote The Shining there, right?
Yeah.
Stephen King went...
And we can get into that later, too,
Stanley
if we
Hotel.
want to just tell them.
Absolutely. Should we just go over the history a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. A gentleman named F.O. Stanley was the founder of the hotel, but interestingly enough, he didn't start it as a hotel. He was the steam-powered car inventor, the Stanley steamer car inventor. And is that what it was called? Stanley steamer?
The Stanley steamer, not to be confused with like a vacuum. It was a steam-powered car. And do you want to guess how, like, this is the early 1900s when it was invented, I believe. Does it say when the Stanley steamer was invented?
Mm-mm. It just says in 1903.
I'll tell you right now, thanks Google. The Stanley steamer was invented in 1897. Okay. So, and it was by F.O. Stanley and his brother Francis E. Stanley. But I want you to guess, how fast do you think that little olden day Stanley steamer car would go? Just think of cars back in the turn of the century.
Honestly, I have no idea how fast a car back there would go.
I mean, cars generally didn't go fast in those days.
But I don't even know what you would consider fast, like 30 miles an hour?
That's a good guess. Do you want that to be your guess?
That's my guess.
That car could go over 100 miles an hour on steam.
Wow.
And which is crazy, because people were driving horses up until that point. So people don't think about that. Like, it was a fast car. And I've heard stories that there were issues with the car because it's essentially like a pressure cooker.
Oh, God.
And so I've been told by some people at the Stanley that maybe the car could have exploded and had issues, and then they just kind of stopped making them.
Interesting.
But this is coming from the hotel. I'm not an expert.
I wonder, too, because if you think about the roads back then, like, if you've got a car now and it's going 100 miles an hour on the freeway, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But if you have a steam-powered vehicle that all of a sudden is going real fast and they're on really crappy roads...
Yeah, it's all like gravel.
Like, I don't think the roads were prepared for that.
No, I don't think so.
So I can see that being very problematic.
But can you imagine seeing that? You're just like walking around with
pony.
your bustled dress or whatever.
In my little cinched corset.
Yeah, your corset. So yeah, the Stanley steamer, pretty interesting.
I love that.
And so anyway, Stanley, or F.O. Stanley, he, this was a time where people were getting tuberculosis a lot. Mm-hmm. And he unfortunately got tuberculosis too. Yeah.
Fun story, you know this, but I feel like sharing this. Growing up, I don't know how, but I never really learned anything about tuberculosis. Like, I didn't have any... Yeah. I didn't have any, like, background knowledge about tuberculosis. And then Moulin Rouge, the movie, came out, and the lead, who is a courtesan, she's a prostitute in it, gets tuberculosis, and that's how she dies. I thought it was a sexually transmitted infection.
Do you know what? I kind of did too, now that I think of it.
Really?
Like, I know I laughed at you last time you told me, but I kind of thought she died because she was easy. Like, she was getting around and she caught something.
They kind of make it seem like, I mean, they don't
really
say
talk
that she
about
gets it because of her lifestyle, but it is very much
it felt like it was implied.
It does. It kind of seems like they go hand in hand. So I misunderstood, and I thought that it was a sexually transmitted infection, and I might have been in college before I found out that it wasn't.
Well, it's very similar the way you get it.
It could have been.
Just like cough on someone.
Yeah, that.
So, yeah, it is not a sexually transmitted disease.
It is not.
It is.
The more you know.
Yeah. Well, we were kids.
Yeah.
What can you say?
I just thought it was so funny that I really thought that, and it was interesting because when I found out, I was with my roommates in college, and we were talking, and we were actually like at a church function, so it was like stuff going on. I just smacked my little mic.
Yeah, don't hit that mic.
I'm sorry, baby Mike.
It's, do I need to back it up from your face, or? Those of you listening to the podcast, we're in a space that we don't normally ever use and will never use again, actually, because it's terrible. But, so, again, sorry for the sound. It's going to be noisy. I apologize. This won't happen again. This shan't happen again.
Shan't happen again. But we were there and they were like talking about tuberculosis and somebody like having tuberculosis just very openly. Like, oh yeah, my uncle had tuberculosis or something like that. And I was like, we're just like talking about like you're walking around saying, hey, I've got syphilis, or like my grandma had syphilis. And so I was very confused and just kind of stopped and was like, guys, like, we're just shouting about people with their STIs here. And
wow. I'm gonna need you to reel it in.
It was really funny. I like looking back on it, it was very, very funny. My roommates were like, what are you talking about? And then I had to say, like, isn't that a sexually transmitted disease? And they put me in my place, laughed at me real hard, and it was pretty funny.
Everyone take a shot every time she says sexually transmitted disease.
Or the name of one. Could that be a thing? I'll just, like, shout chlamydia randomly in the episode.
This is not the chlamydia episode. This is the episode of the Stanley Hotel. So... let's get on track.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's 1 a.m. and I'm sleepy.
Tuberculosis, not a sexually transmitted disease or infection. Drink.
Yeah. So, anywho, Stanley built this beautiful building up in the mountains of Colorado because, you know, if you know anything about tuberculosis, people tried to go up into the mountains where the air was clean, cold, the altitude was high. And speaking of the altitude, you've never been, right?
I haven't. Sorry, before we move on, can I really quickly just, for any who don't know what tuberculosis is, really quick, I just wanted to go. We obviously know it is not. Now every time I go to say it, I feel like people are drinking. It was also known as the White Death or consumption, and it was a bacteria that would go into your lungs and left untreated killed about half the people who got it. So it was a very serious thing. You couldn't breathe. It was a very troublesome thing for your lungs. And then you would cough up blood. That was one of the big indicators. Is when you see someone.
Essentially just drown.
Yeah, you like drown in your lungs.
It is crazy and it sounds horrible.
Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to cover that base for anybody who didn't know that's tuberculosis.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
So, yeah, TB, as it's known, to be short. Mm-hmm. Where was I going now?
We were talking about how he built it up in the mountains for the...
He built this beautiful hotel. I don't think he built it as a hotel. I think he built it as a house for just him and his, like, close friends. I think
his million close friends.
I think he invited the president at one point.
Nice.
But he went there to heal, and he did heal. He actually recovered. And I want to just tell you about the elevation because I am a singer. I've been a singer my whole life. I like to think my lungs are very strong. And when you're a singer, you know, you're used to not having a lot of oxygen, like if you're a performer and singing. But I cannot, for the life of me, go up to this hotel without needing an inhaler. It's so high.
Wow.
Like, I'm out of breath just talking about it right now because... if you were to watch my YouTube channel in the last video when I went there, I'm just like, hi, my name's Adam. We're here at the Stanley, and I'm blacking out. Like, it's so bad.
Which is kind of funny because, like, we're at a high elevation here, and people will come do, like, training and stuff up in higher elevation. So, like, people will come up to Utah or...
But I think they're like a good 5,000 feet bit higher than us.
Really?
I think they're at 7,600 or 8,000, something like that. And we're at like 45, right? Or...
I don't have any idea.
Well, anyway, it is a high altitude. And yeah, I'm sure the tuberculosis would have just shot right out of my lungs if I had any. Because it's crazy up there. But okay, let's get to the brass tacks of this episode. The Stanley Hotel.
Yes.
After he... invited his friends and had people over, I think he decided, let's make this a hotel. And they started adding on to it.
Yeah, well, he considered these rustic accommodations with the Stanley Hotel. And so he wasn't, like, happy.
He was friends with, like, the Biltmores, I think. And, like, we're talking the richest people in America. Yeah. So I'm sure it was rustic to them.
Yeah. But so they added on to it, and it became what is now.
Like it's a hotel. So you've got the main building, the hotel, and then next to it you have the music hall. and the music hall. And then there's like the carriage house next to that, I think is what it's called. And that's a second building. So now, year 2024, there's more buildings than that. They've got like little tiny homes around the property. They've got condos. I mean, it's a whole resort. So, and it is expensive AF to stay there.
I was going to say, I looked, and we could stay tomorrow night for $229.
Oh, that's cheap. When I went for my honeymoon, it was like $450 a night, and we were in like a tiny room.
Yeah.
But it was a tiny haunted room.
That'll do it.
Yeah. We should probably start talking about these hauntings. That's what these people want to hear. The haunted Stanley.
Yeah.
What do you know about the hauntings of the Stanley? Anything?
Really the only things that I know a little bit of the history of the hotel. I know that Stephen King chose to write there specifically because there'd been a lot of like paranormal activity, and he thought that it would be good, a good place for him to have, first off, like quiet and be able to be out somewhere kind of like in nature, a little bit secluded, and be able to write this big story that he'd been thinking about. And so I know that he requested, it was like a specific room.
Are you talking about Stephen King right now or Stanley?
Stephen King.
Okay,
Did
sorry.
I say Stanley?
I don't know.
Stanley
You guys,
King.
so sorry. It's very, very late while we're recording this. It's like 1:30 in the morning. So we're just a little sleepy, but we want to make sure we bring you something because we're here for you. We're here to service you. That sounds bad. We're here to service your cars. As long as it's not a Stanley steamer.
Wow. Sexually transmitted disease infection.
Do we want to start with the history in the olden days of the Stanley? Should we talk about?
You just asked me what I know about it, and that's what I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did do that. You're right. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Having a stroke.
Was there more so I know that he chose to write there because there was paranormal stuff, and then that he did write there.
Well, I'm pretty sure he was just driving up, trying to go up the mountain, and I think they shut it down at the time of year he was going. And the only thing left to stay at, accommodation-wise, was the Stanley. And so he pulled in. Mind you, this is the 70s, and that place was kind of, raggedy. It was going through a dark time. It definitely wasn't the way it looks now. It was kind of, beat up, tired, and the hotel did close back in those days for the winter. And so they weren't even accepting guests, but he went up and he was like, hey, I'm trying to write a book, and I was wondering if my wife Tabitha and I could just come stay a few nights. And I think he had just become really big from Carrie, the book Carrie, I believe. And so they did know who he was, and they gave him a room, and they let him kind of do his thing. He said it was just him and his wife, and I think his son might have been there, and it was just them in the hotel. And he remembers how eerie it was because he would eat in the ballroom, and of course his mind started going, and he was put into room 217 to write this book. Now, I don't think Stephen King knew about room 217, but back when the hotel was first on its way, that room 217 was actually 2 rooms, I believe, that were walled off. And in those days, they didn't have electricity. It was a gas lighting and stuff like that. So a maid was in that room making up the room, and I guess the gas had been going and she didn't light it, and she exploded. I mean, she blew the room up. She blew up, was blown into another floor, and she didn't die. She lived.
What?
So room 217, it's got this whole story. And so, the poor woman, blew the room up. They had to repair it. She did live. However, she's one of the ghosts that people see in that room, is this maid.
She didn't die there, but then after she did, she went back and was
can you imagine? You have to work again?
I could have died here.
So I think I'm just telling you guys a lot of info all at once, but I'm just thinking of it. I don't want to forget. But so this room has had quite a history and a past.
That's fun. I also know, I was reading just now, and Stephen King apparently had a dream while he was staying there about his son being, like, chased around by a fire hose.
Yeah, in the Stanley, there's little fire hoses on each floor, and he dreamed that the fire hose uncoiled itself like a snake, and then the end of it opened up with all these teeth and tried to eat his son, and that woke him up. And that nightmare is what got him to write this whole story.
Crazy.
And he was also going through some sobriety stuff. I think he was very drunk at the time, and he was trying to dry out as well. And so I think he was going through some stuff. Yeah. But it all worked out because he wrote one of the most amazing horror novels ever written, I think.
I would say probably it's my favorite.
Hey, Jinx. We finish each other's
sandwiches.
Oh, no. But, yeah, so way to go, Stephen King. So now room 217, everyone wants to stay there. I've stayed there once, and in the room, it's got all of his books, every single one he's written, and then they play The Shining on a loop. They alternate it between the regular Stanley Kubrick version that Stephen King hated, and then the actual version Stephen King did, where they filmed it there at the Stanley back in the 90s with Rebecca De Mornay and...
I haven't seen that one.
A guy that played Jack.
And a guy.
It was not a good miniseries, but I do love it. You know, it's very cheesy. But it's true to his book, so he likes it. So check it out.
I love the book.
Anywho.
So yeah, lots of people know the Stanley based off Stephen King. That's about the best of my knowledge. Yeah. But you obviously know more. So if we go back in time to when it was first built up, was the room with the maid, was that the first experience that you know of as far as hauntings?
As far as tragedies and things?
And paranormal shenanigans?
That's the one that sticks out in my mind. I'm trying to think if there was any other big tragedies there. I know that in the music hall, we have a ghost that haunts there. His name's Paul. He was a janitor.
Paul in the music hall.
Paul in the music hall. He was a janitor, and he died of a heart attack while he was cleaning, like back in the early 2000s. Mm. I think it was actually right before I went there the first time, because they had mentioned someone had died recently. And so they do offer ghost tours, and they tell you about this guy. And I guess he's just a very angry spirit, and he swears a lot. Oh. And he doesn't like, if you're in the music hall after 11, he starts like shutting the lights off and starts terrorizing people, they say. So they don't let anyone in there after 11.
After 11.
Although I did spend the night in there, so maybe that's why he didn't like us. But we were on a special tour. Mm-hmm. But I just remember the music hall and the hotel, it's all built into the side of the mountain right there. So cool. In the... Is it granite or the stone? I can't think of the type, but that means something here. I'll tell you in just a sec. But yeah, in the music hall, I would just like open doors and it was just dirt. And you'd be like crawling inside the mountain and it would connect to the main building. And it was
just like tunnels?
Just tunnels. Interesting. You could see the roots from trees above you.
Wow.
But the hotel is built right into the side of the mountain. And paranormal investigators are very big on thinking that that's what's causing all these hauntings because of the limestone and the granite. You know, they have been known to be conductors of paranormal activity. Mm. These different stones, like quartz and other professionals and experts. They believe that it just holds on to all the energy that happened around it and it just shoots it back out like a record player.
Wow.
So that's why they think this hotel is so haunted, because it really does have a lot of hauntings constantly.
Wow.
So they think that is what causes it. So let's see. Should I talk about Paul some more? About my experience with Paul? Mm-hmm. Because I went there, when did I go there? 2 years ago? On a girls' trip with my friends, and we took the tour. They told us about Paul, And in the basement of the music hall, there's a mirror that's original. It's like from the 1900s. And the tour guide said, you know, if you take photos in this mirror, people seem to get full-bodied apparitions a lot.
I did not realize that this was the story. I didn't realize that this was the Paul story. Yeah. I just need to preface with, like, this is my favorite thing ever. Continue.
Yeah, and if maybe we'll insert a clip of this on my YouTube channel, those of you watching it. But I was in this tour. I'm always one of those that's going to be the last person in the group, just like shooting the camera behind us, because I always catch things with my cell phone and, you know, voice recorder and stuff like that. So I just took photos, didn't think anything of it, got to the room, got in bed, and I was just kind of scrolling through the photos, and I caught this picture. And in the picture, you can see these two women that were in the group with me. And behind the women, there is a man, and he's looking right at me, and his eye is like glowing white, just one eye.
Yeah.
And he has no legs. Like, you can see the trash can behind them, and he doesn't have legs. It's just his head and shoulders showing. And it's not maybe it's something, it's 100% a person. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
Like, it's a man.
You know how a lot of the times when you see, like, photos and then they're like, here, it's something spooky, and you're like, oh, that smudge in the background?
Yeah.
Sure. Like, yeah, it could be something, but it could also be anything that is not this picture.
And I've been investigating for 25 years. And when I tell you this is probably the creepiest photo I've ever taken.
It's the best.
Like, it still gives me chills to think about it. But if you ever want to go to my channel, those dear listeners listening to the podcast, you can see the video. It's on the Paranormal Polynesian Travel on YouTube.
So good. I love it.
The other photo, I got 2 photos that night. So after I got the picture of the man, everyone left the building and I stayed behind and I snapped some more photos in the mirror. And in the mirror, you see the smudgy mirror. There's nothing there. And then one other shot after, you see a man walking like Sasquatch and looking right at me as he's like walking.
Yeah.
And is that Paul? It could be.
I don't know.
It was a man, and there was no one there.
Yeah.
So not only did I get one, I got 2. I don't know if they're the same person, but it's 2 different men, and it was so eerie. And
I didn't realize that you noticed them in the hotel while you were still staying there. That's kind of amazing that you found, like, when you saw the pictures and saw them in it, you were still in the hotel.
Yeah. So no. Oh, I didn't stay at the Stanley.
Oh, so it was back there. Okay, gotcha.
Girl, I couldn't afford it that night. It was like $500 a night when we were there. Mm-hmm. So no, we stayed with my friend's Marriott discount down the road. But still, like, to be in bed at night, just like everyone's asleep, and I was just freaked out. Although I have stayed at the Stanley, and let me tell you, every single time, it's just like the Queen Mary, I've never not had a paranormal experience when I've gone there. Never.
Crazy.
It's every time. So I don't even know where you want to go from here, but I have stories that we could talk about forever. But hopefully for maybe just another half hour, not forever.
Yeah.
That'd be a long podcast.
Yes,
so, do you have anything you want to add about the Stanley that you had researched or you're interested in, or you want to sing us a song?
I'm the piano man.
Okay.
Funnily though, I was just thinking how fun it would be to make The Shining into a musical. Do you think you could make a horror musical and actually make it?
It's already been done.
What?
Yeah, I'll show it to you after.
Is it bad?
It's actually, they started a concept for a musical and they've completed some songs and they were going to take it to Broadway, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think they still should. But
Agreed.
The trip that I went to with my girlfriend, like, a few years ago, the whole point of the trip was we were going to go to The Shining, or to the Stanley, and then we were going to the Metropolitan Opera in Denver, because there is a Shining that's an opera that they've made.
Cool.
So the sets are amazing, and it's it's an opera.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for an opera.
That's
The Shining.
cool.
We missed the show. I'm very sad. But if it's ever back in town, I want to go. But yeah, they've done it.
That's fun.
It's lovely. Just delightful.
Cool.
Well, this concludes this episode.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So what's another spooky happening at the Stanley?
At the Stanley? Should I just start from my first visit?
Sure.
So my first visit was 2008. It was actually, what is today, November 15th, 16th? It was in November. It was the same week as we are right now. So
wow.
like first, second week of November. And I was there for a paranormal conference with the Ghost Hunters TV show. There was a psychic named Chris Fleming. He's still really big. He has a TV show, I believe. Just all these like celebrity ghost hunters. And me, I was there for the booze and the party.
Nice.
Because they always do a costume party in the ballroom. Mm-hmm. And my friend Sarah and she dressed as Tippi Hedren from The Birds in this cute little green dress, and she had like birds all around her, and like her head was bleeding. It was the cutest thing ever. And then I went as like Jack Sparrow because he was really big back in 2008 or so. Mm-hmm. And so she ended up winning the costume contest that night.
Cute.
Do you want to guess what the prize was?
I think I already know. You got to sleep in the room. Right?
Yeah, we got to stay in room 217. So we were like, okay, we lost our minds. So they gave us the key. Mind you, the hotel is all just for this conference, and so there's no lights on in the halls. You have to just use your phone to see.
That's fun.
It was fun, but it was terrifying.
Creepy, yeah.
I mean, it reminds... So I'm going to just go back. During this night of the party, we were still in our normal room. And I had to use the little boy's room.
Okay.
And I needed to go to my room to do that. And I think I had to get something from the room. So I go in the old elevator with the accordion, cool. Brass doors. That sounds terrifying. And I'm by myself going up to I think I was on the 3rd floor. And my room was all the way down the hall. And I'm in the hotel of The Shining, and there's no lights on. It's creepy.
Yeah.
And I'm alone. And so I'm just like walking against the walls, just like shining. Because I get nervous when I'm by myself. Like, I am not that brave. But I'm like trying to get to the room, and I keep hearing things down the hall coming towards me, and I like ran into my room, shut the door. Okay, so I'm in the bathroom, and I'm doing my stuff. Mm-hmm. And while I'm in the bathroom, I can clear as day. Cocaine. Yeah, what kind of party is this? Clear as day. I can hear kids jumping on the bed in the bedroom, and I can hear them laughing. Kids. And I remember like midstream, I'm like, kids? I remember saying, like, I don't like kids, and you can play all you want, but can you please, by the time I open this door, I'm going to need you to be gone. Like, I cannot see you. Like, I cannot physically see you. Like, I will die. So please stop jumping on the bed. And right after I said that, the jumping stopped, like, instantly. And then I creaked open the door after washing my hands, of course, and looked into the room, and there was nothing there, but the bed was messed up. Like, the bed was messed up with little squishy spots, like someone had been jumping on it.
What?
And that was my very first experience at the Stanley. And it just kept getting weirder. We were there for like a week, and just stuff kept coming. That's cool to get to spend
that much time.
It was, and it makes me feel so lucky because we'll never get to do that again.
Yeah.
The hotel's so big now and so famous, and everyone has to stay there, that I didn't realize how good I had it. Like, we had free reign of that hotel that week.
That's amazing.
And it was so much fun. But anyway, so we got to stay in room 217, so we brought our pillows. and went into the other room, and I just remember I wanted to like take a bath in the tub. In the tub, where he got the idea of like the woman in the tub. Clawfoot tub, terrifying. I just remember it was so skinny my butt couldn't even fit in it. Like I had to like halfway sit down like this. I'm like, how skinny were people in the 1900s? And I was skinny back then, like 100 pounds less than I am now. So it was probably made for like Barbie people.
Barbie tub.
Yeah. Although, you know what? I saw they renovated the room the other day, and they took the tub out, and I'm very upset. Because it's like, you gotta leave the tub. Now it's a walk-in shower. That's not spooky. Stanley, get it together.
Stan's dead.
Yeah, mind you, if you guys want to rent room 217, you better do it a year in advance and be prepared to spend a pretty penny.
$1 billion. I wonder.
I think the last time I checked, it was $600 a night or $700.
Wow.
In like the off season. So it is very pricey, but if you love horror and you love Stephen King and stuff like that, it's definitely a must do.
I mean, it's so beautiful.
So in that room that night, so Sarah slept in the big 4-poster bed, and I was a gentleman, so I slept on the floor. And we did, of course, leave the cameras rolling because we wanted to catch anything. And there was a moment in time in the night, and it's on one of my videos, you can hear someone moving in the bathroom, and they closed the bathroom door and shut it. And you can, in those old buildings, the doors are so hard to close that it's impossible, but the door was closed because it was open when we went to sleep, and then you can hear it clearly being shut. And so we did have that, but nothing materialized that night. And so that was our one night there, and then we had to go back and slum it in the ghost kids room. So
with the ghost kids, I'm trying to see if you can even, if there's even a way to like request the room.
We should go and do a live stream.
It'd be so fun.
Just for one night only.
We could go tomorrow for $299.
That's truly like the cheapest I've ever seen it.
I bet it's because it's so last minute, right? Like that they happen to have rooms.
And I think November's a great time to go because it's cooler up there. They never had air conditioning in this hotel until I think very recently they put some window units in. But it gets so hot in the summer at this hotel.
All right. So something else that I know happened was there's a story about Jim Carrey in the Stanley Hotel.
Jim Carrey.
What happened there?
Well, I don't know if you know this, they filmed the movie Dumb and Dumber out in like Aspen and around places in Colorado. Aspen. Yeah. And he wanted to stay at the Stanley during the filming. All I know is that he was there for like one night, and he stayed in room 217, and he, in the middle of the night, with just his clothes, like came running down the stairs to the front desk and asked to leave.
What?
And he never came back. And he's crazy. Never said what it was that he saw. Nobody actually knows. But it must be a big enough deal because there's a whole plaque and a photo of him in the basement that talks about it. So
that's funny.
I want to know what he saw.
Yeah, I wonder why he hasn't ever mentioned.
Yeah, he's never mentioned it. I've tried for years to figure it out and look it up, but there's nothing on it. But it did happen.
That's crazy. Okay, so he had an experience. You've had haunted experiences. What are the experiences? Like, apparently a lot of people are seeing things. What are experiences that people are having at the hotel?
Like hotspots?
Yeah, like what's happening?
Well, Mrs. Stanley, she loved to play the piano.
Mama Stanley?
So she had a music room. So like when you walk into the Stanley Hotel, you're greeted by this beautiful staircase and the front desk and the elevator. Okay. To your left is the ballroom, and to your right is another ballroom, and that was Mrs. Stanley's music hall, and her piano was there. It's still there. And people just have talked about hearing the piano play. Workers have heard the piano playing at night. People have seen her in the mirror. There's a mirror above the fireplace mantle, and they've seen her in that. And as far as I heard, like very recently in the past few months, they've converted the music room into like a wine bar. So now
sad.
It's not even a music room anymore.
I don't like
Gotta
that.
get those extra dollars in there, Stanley Hotel. Yeah, when I say that this place has just become kind of like a circus for the elite. It's a very, very bougie hotel.
Well, and when I looked on, it's like all of the different tours and all of the different things that are going on all the time. Or it's like haunted tours and just all the different things constantly.
The first times I went to the hotel, and wasn't that long ago, like 2008 or whatever, they didn't even like to talk about the ghosts because it was very taboo. And so they would be like, there's no ghosts here, like if people asked.
What are you talking about?
And then they realized, oh, we make lots of money, so let's play it up.
Yeah.
And they sure do play it up now. I mean, they play it up so much that they have an international film festival that's just for horror films that they host now.
Really?
And I think they've built an entire soundstage or theater from the hotel where people perform. And so they're just like, they're all about their paranormal hauntings at this place.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of fun, but
It is fun.
kind of obnoxious for a normal person trying to just get a room.
Yeah.
Because usually you can't. You have to book a year in advance, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a very interesting, like, spooky, delightful. I mean, if you want to feel like you've been transported into the early 1900s, it looks just the same as it did.
Cool.
You know, except for Disney-fied. So it's like perfect in every way. But you still smell it. It still smells like an old building, and it still gives you that energy. And I just
there
love
on
it.
the mountains, like it's so pretty.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I love that place so much. I had my honeymoon there with Barney.
Really?
Yeah. It was the year that we got married, 2015. The Stanley Hotel decided, because people always ask them, "Where's the hedge maze?" Like in the movie, there's no hedge maze.
Yeah.
And they said, well, maybe we should build a hedge maze. So they built a hedge maze in front of the hotel, literally the month that I got married, and we were like the first people to go into it.
What?
And at the time, the hedges were like 12 inches tall. And I was like, Barney, where are you? Oh, you're right there. I can see you.
Found you.
You could just hopscotch over it. But now, when I went 2 years ago, they're actually probably 8 feet tall.
Wow.
So it has grown quite a bit. And if you look down from the hotel onto the hedge maze, it's shaped like the Stanley Steamer, I think. And it's shaped like one of those corn mazes that have, it says the year, I think, that the hotel was built. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah. But it's like a cute little picture.
Oh,
but now they've got it.
Where's John?
They should have axes and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
So they're just, like I said, they're leaning into their haunted roots.
I love it.
And so I think, as far as haunted hotels go, this is definitely, top 5 in the world. I think people know about this place all over the earth, and they want to visit it. And I do think you guys, if you can, you should go just once.
Very fun.
See what you think. See if you find something.
And let us know.
There's just so many spooky stories. But I think that's... I don't want to bore you with any more stories, although I truly do have... we could talk for hours about the things I've seen, but we'll save that for another time. So anyhow, I want to ask you, Faye.
Me?
What do you think about this haunted Stanley Hotel?
Haunted Stanley Hotel.
Is it haunted?
I mean, we talked about how they're definitely leaning into it. Is the hotel haunted? I think I'd probably, if I had to wager a guess, I would say that...
You've been listening to Believe or Not to Believe, that is the podcast. Do us a favor, dear. Be a chap. Leave us a 5 or 4-star review. I still do not know which one is the highest, but one day, many years from now, I probably still won't know. So thank you for listening. Join us weekly. Look for us on YouTube, the Facebooks, the back alley, next to the KFC, because they dump out perfectly good coleslaw all the time, and I just love to eat it by the handful. This done. Say goodbye.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. It's time to put Adam down for a nap.
But I don't wanna.